Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, good morning. Welcome to the Morning Talk. Back with me again, Alfiana Putri, and today I'm joined by the special guest, Dr. Pratita Pawestri. Hi Dr. Tita.
Hi all! Hi Vina!
She is a psychologist at UNICEF, and for today's episode, we are going to talk about social stigma against mental illness and how to reduce it in our community. So, to start off, I noticed that stigma around mental health is really harmful. Even many people lack of information and knowledge about mental health. So, to start this discussion, I want to ask what is mental health stigma?
Okay, before I start the discussion, first I want to say thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm really honored to be talking about this. This topic is really important to be addressed. So, talking about stigma, I want to give you a comparison. What are the first words that come to your mind if we think about cancer? Commonly, people may think something like sick, brave, strong, and survivor. But while we think about the mental illness, we commonly hear people say something like weak, sad, violent, crazy, even looking for attention. This is stigma. What is stigma? When someone sees you in a negative way because of your mental illness. This is the problem. Unfortunately, not many people don't understand what is the mental illness.
Yes, that's true. We must realize that many of us don't understand what mental health is. Mental health is still taboo in our society. So, what is the big impact for them who having mental illness with the stigma?
Stigma or bad assumption. For the same, it is already explained that stigma has a bad impact, not only for the victim, but also for the people mindset. Because of their illness, many people refer to them as crazy or unstable. That's why many people say those with mental illness just want attention. This is untrue, hurtful, and unfair. So that's why stigma is bad for them. Stigma makes them feel like having a mental illness is embracing and a sin. They afraid that people will judge them as a personal failure of weakness. This is a bad thing, cause them to be depressed, get more pressure and difficult to accept the situation.
Okay, I'm sorry to hear this. So, does ignorance of people give rise to stigma in our society?
Yes, of course, it does. I'm sorry to say, but it's very influential for them. If they see people with mental illness, they might think, who is that? Why does he do such a crazy thing? She's like a crazy people, and etc. Why do they have a question like this? It is absolutely because of the people ignorance about either mental health or mental illness. As we know that mental illness is still taboo in our society. From this ignorance, it is raised some opinions that have not been proven to be true. So this is where the stigma begins.
I see. It actually gave me a new insight, and I'm sure that the audience are feel the same as me. You mentioned that people lack of information has an impact to encourage the stigma. So I want to ask, from where the stigma begins? I think it might come from our daily life, but not many of us conscious that turns out it is a stigma.
Okay, first, stigma begins from negative perception of mental illness. We usually get this perception from how mental illness portrayed in our daily life, but what we see and hear it's not always true. For example, depression. I want to ask you, what comes to your mind about depression?
Um, I think it is similar with stress or sad about something. Like when you lose something precious in your life, then you sad and feel depressed. Sorry if I'm wrong.
Okay, thank you for your opinion, but I must say that it is stigma.
Oh, really? I didn't even
Yeah.
know about that.
Yes, depression is more than being sad. Depression is fear, pain, and deep thought. of death or suicide. Another case is anxiety. People who living with anxiety frequently have intense, excessive, and persistent worry and fear about everyday situation. And I swear, people who living with this disorder have a trouble doing so many activities and make life extremely hard for them.
Okay. Other than negative perception, is there any aspect that rise the stigma, especially in mental illness?
The other aspect is people lack of information itself. As we know, usually society think that mental health disorder are, are something is not real. They even made a joke, negative comment against mental illness. From the cases, no wonder that they who survive with mental illness choose to keep quiet and suffering with their problem. Mental illness is disease of the brain. People with depression is sick, just like people with cancer. We cannot see mental health disorder like we can see physical illness, but it doesn't mean that mental illness is not real. People with mental illness are also strong and brave because they battle their illness every day.
Okay, so from Dr. Pratita's explanations, we can say that the biggest aspect that encourage the stigma about mental illness are negative perception and people lack of knowledge. Let's move to the next topic. As long as you join the UNICEF as a psychologist, are there even or real cases of people with mental disorder who are stigmatized by society?
Okay, actually, there are many cases where they are stigmatized by society. I often see the cases experienced by teenagers. As students, they certainly have their own problem, either from school or from their family. At the time, I did counseling in several schools. I heard their complaints and stories. I found that there were some students doing self-harm and it actually shocked me. They said that they were afraid to confide to others and they don't know who should they talk to, so they commit to hurt themselves. I also found there were several students who dared to confide their problem. But what did they got in return? They are shunned and their friends are afraid of them. From their experience, we can take a look that stigma does exist.
Yes, I even don't expect that. Stigma does exist in our society, even in school. So, what should we do? As a young generation, what should we do to overcome the stigma and the negative perceptions?
The basic thing is end the negative perception. Stop referring to people with mental illness is crazy, weird, and anything like that. That is not cool, but you turn out to make the condition more worse. Despite of doing the worst thing, we can start educating people and start opening up mental illness in a workplace, school, family. The youth even can make a volunteer group who cares about mental health and start sharing, embrace them and spread a positive thing to others.
Wow, it's such an impressive. Other than for the young generation, is there any message for people in our community?
For people in our community, please be educated and literate in mental health. Use the right language and avoid saying things that perpetuate stigma. Be open-minded, embrace and listen to them who survive mental illness. If you see something hurting, don't look away. Trying to open up about what they are going through. Please listen and be a good listener. Otherwise, if you had a worse feeling, try to bravery yourself to tell somebody. Let's spread love and positive vibes to you and others.
It is such a good message. We as humans should treat humans like humans, right? I do agree with your statement that let's spread love and positive vibe to you and others. So finally, we have to come to the end of the event. Thank you so much to you all for watching, and thank you so much, Dr. Pratita, for being here. Your advice was really impressive and invaluable. I'm so honored to be able to discuss about mental health with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for you too for having me in the special talk show. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you so much. Bye guys. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.